Party primaries continue to intrigue both aspirants and their supporters. The party is yet to set a specific date of the primaries and the format it will adopt, with some political parties battles shaping up as too hot to handle for the party. We speak to the newly appointed Secretary General of the Jubilee Party now, Raphael Tuju, over how exactly the party plans to handle the nominations. Talk to us. The hashtag is the big question. You can also text us on 22422. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your new appointment today.
Well, I've been there for some time. Thank you.
Wonderful. Let's take a look at what you're saying first. Sample of your feedback. Samuel Mishira, no, smart cards will not work all over the country. We also have Samurai saying yes, but they should make those smart cards optional to participate in the upcoming party nominations. Zachary says Jubilee should do all they can to conduct a free and fair nomination. And Keep the Thing says, I don't believe there is democracy in our political parties. Jubilee is not an exception. Phil Mwangi, Jubilee nominations will be largely free and fair. However, any party nominations can never be perfect. Keep talking to us. The hashtag the big question on Twitter, and text us on 22422. Thank you again for making time for us. First, you are yet as Jubilee Party to announce a date when the primaries will take place. When are we likely to see this?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me over. Second, of course, our nomination process has to take place within the designated time by the IEBC, which is between 13th and 26th of April. So we'll definitely have to do it within that time.
Right.
At the moment, we have the National Elections Board working out those details, whether they'll all be on one particular day or whether they'll be phased into 3 or 4 different days. That's the detail they're working on.
Right.
At the moment, they're actually in the field forming the county election boards, which will be responsible for some of the details at the county levels. The key word is free and fair. Unfortunately, in the Kenyan political process, free and fair means different things to different people. Most of us as Kenyans believe that it's only free and fair when we have won.
Right.
So if you don't win, then of course it was not free and fair. It becomes chaotic.
Right.
It is incumbent upon us to ensure that we do a credible exercise. And in fact, even today, one of the things that the President spoke to after our national executive committee meeting was to strengthen this whole nomination process.
Okay.
So that now we have not only the National Selections Board, we have the disciplinary committee, and we have the appeals tribunal.
Right.
So that if there's anything which happens in terms of fallout after this process, then we have the system in place to handle.
Okay.
And all the people who have been appointed as chair of those particular institutions or bodies within the party, lawyers with the right qualifications to become appeal court judges.
Okay.
So we are taking it very seriously.
Right. So you're yet to give us specific. You're not giving yet a specific date.
It is between that time. But then, of course, it is the NEB to pronounce themselves in that. I don't want to second guess them on that. Because,
okay. How will this be done? How will the nominations be done? What system will be put in place? Or what system is going to be used? People are talking about the use of these Jubilee smart cards. Is that what is going to be used? We've already had the Vice Chair, Murade, in Jackie Maribe's story today saying, and even yesterday, speaking to Sam Gituku, that is what is going to be used. Is that what is going to be used?
Yes. As far as we are concerned as a party, first of all, why did we bring the cards? We brought the cards essentially to help us in the nomination process. The second reason why the cards came into being was so that we could build our membership as a party. And indeed, it has helped us to build a membership. Right now, we are talking in terms of a membership of 7.5 million. And to a large extent, this has been done through this these cards, those which have been activated so far. And the third, of course, is to help us identify our members, not only for the nomination process now, but 3 months after the elections, we are supposed to go into the elections of our party officials, because at the moment, all of us are there serving in an interim basis.
Right.
Then, of course, it is the responsibility of the NEB and the county election boards to go to the field, to do the audit, to find out to what extent are these cards spread. And I can give you, for example, I'll keep on giving the example of Seya, because that's where I come from. We found that only about 1.2% have registered as members. So in a place like that, there's no way by which you can say that you'll use the card. So in those areas, there'll be some other way of identifying the contestants.
It won't be the same everywhere.
Yeah, so in many respects, all nomination processes and elections are really local, all right? They, county to county, there may be some differences, but
based on what? You talked about CIR, for example. You're talking about the numbers.
Yes.
That is about population, isn't it?
Yes, about population.
Those are very
small
low
population.
uptake.
Yes.
So, okay, what are the criteria you're using then?
Yes.
If you're saying it will vary.
Now, one of the things which is also within our constitution is that we can select those who will be our nominees through consensus, through giving direct nominations to the talent that we have identified.
Talent. Okay, just explain that. What do you mean when you say?
I mean, for example, if you want to run somebody in Rarieda constituency, where I come from, then you look for who is qualified, and you may find that Raphael Tuju is probably the most qualified. There is no competition. There is no uptake of people who are interested in running as Jubilee. Candidates in this particular area. So you may be able to say, okay, fine, I think Raphael Tuju, with his political experience, he could be a talent that we can work with.
So let me get that straight. That is if it's only Raphael Tuju who has expressed interest. Only Raphael Tuju.
Not only.
So how is that free and fair then?
Well, the thing is that some people may express their interest, but they don't have the profile of who can actually run in such a place. I mean, for example, if somebody says that they want to be the governor in a certain area, they express their interest, they don't have the prerequisites that are required by the IEBC, they don't have the degree, they don't even have a vehicle that they can use to go around the constituency, around the country looking for votes, then, you can identify other talents, and in some respects, sometimes you may even have to approach certain people and say, look, would you run for us? And that is the same all over the world. But
isn't that a bit vague? Because if somebody meets all the, like right now, I believe you push the nomination deadline to, I think, Wednesday? Tomorrow.
Yes.
So if somebody meets all that is required, and you still go to the ground and you feel, can that happen? You still go to the ground and you feel he's not or she is not the best, and you give direct nomination to another person?
It's not only what we feel. There are certain requirements for certain positions. You may express an interest. You want to be the governor of a certain area.
And you meet all the requirements.
So if you meet all the requirements.
As per the party, as per IEBC, you meet all the requirements.
And you're the only one?
No, you are three. But you said you can choose and give one person direct nomination.
No. The thing is that what I said is that at the end of the day, we have the National Elections Board, we have the county election boards, all right? And it is them who are supposed to kind of midwife this process of identification of our candidates for the general elections. In the event, for example, that we can reach a consensus, if that is the best way in some places, then reach a consensus, like what has happened in Mombasa. We had lawyer Maboza, who was a very strong candidate, and we had Shabal, who was a very strong candidate, and we were able to broker an arrangement in which one becomes the main candidate and the other one becomes the running mate. There's nothing wrong with that. Rather than have them compete with each other, fight with each other, there must be some other ways of reaching a consensus and going forward. Okay,
let me move forward to the issue of smart cards again. But for the record, you're saying if it's only one person who has expressed interest, obviously they'll be given direct nomination.
If there's only one person who has expressed interest and if they are qualified, they meet all the requirements, then that
is the only way somebody can be given direct nomination.
Yes.
That's the only way.
Yes.
Right. Let's talk about these cards. And many people have raised concerns about this and whether it's a free and fair process, whether it's going to even be democratic. One of them is Senator Mike Sonko, who talked about it extensively. Again, there are so many, feedback on, for example, Twitter. Kipleting says there will be a lot of rigging because of the smart cards. Why would party allow aspirants to buy cards in bulk? Somebody else here, Jomo Jijin Mukuweni, there's a great concern over the use of smart cards from those who would wish to use the unorthodox means to vote in. This is somebody, what it means is somebody not from Jubilee. They use unorthodox means to vote in weak Jubilee candidates to the advantage of the Jubilee opponents. I think a more elaborate system should be put in place, and Jubilee should not relent on this. You have no way of knowing, for example, if you and I are going for any seat, Nairobi, for example, or Ariada, for example. If I have money and buy majority of those cards there, you have no way of knowing if I sponsored 50,000 people to buy those cards. You have no way of knowing.
No.
So I can mess up the process and do it to my advantage.
Actually, that's part of the problem we have in this country. And it's part of the problem, let me just clarify one. The main problem we have is not to organize a free and fair nomination process. The main problem we have is that there's an inordinate number of aspirants who want to cheat. Right? And it's almost a Kenyan culture that they want to cheat.
Right.
And if somebody is hell-bent to cheat, they'll try all manner of things. We had, for example, during the time when we were doing the process of establishment of county interim officials, we gave a certain amount of spaces to be occupied by, to represent aspirants. That was 6 positions. We had all kinds of strange things happen. I mean, some people, I don't need to name them, paid for 50, 60 aspirants,
right,
so that then they could fill, they could have majority in the aspirants, and therefore end up influencing those who will represent aspirants. So in the same way, right now, unfortunately, some of the arguments that we're getting from some of the listeners or viewers or so is that they are looking for which system will work best to their advantage. Those who have those who have many cards, they want the cards. Those who feel that they're disadvantaged in that area, they want another system. Right. Of course, there's not a walk in the park. I mean, the thing is that it is not foolproof for us as well. Right. But when people want to cheat, they will try all kinds of ways of cheating.
But the onus now should be on the party to make sure they put systems that are not...
Precisely. And that's what we're trying to do with the National Elections Board and the county election boards. Our people, as I'm talking to you right now, they're out in the counties, you know, evaluating the extent of the penetration of the cards, evaluating the, you know, doing an audit of those who bought cards, the number of cards which were taken to a certain county, and to what extent have our own county offices been able to activate those, and if they're not activated, if people have failed returns, so that we have those at our county level, so that then they can make an objective decision as what is best system to be used. Right. And but needless to say that we also have a register of those who became automatic members of the Jubilee Party, courtesy of the fact that they were either members of TNA, URP, or any of the other.
But you're going to use the smart cards.
But we want to use the smart cards. But the final call, and I want to explain this. The final call is the NEB and the chair of the NEB.
Whether you'll use the smart cards or not.
Where we'll use the smart cards or not. Not just whether, but where we'll use the smart cards or not. Because I can give you, for example.
So we don't know, okay. We don't know still. You're saying you don't know where you'll use the smart cards. But the smart cards will be used.
Yes. I have a fairly good idea. But it is the responsibility of the NEB to actually map the whole country and say, here we must use smart cards, there is no other way, otherwise we're going to be infiltrated. Here we just use the register of our party members and proceed in that way. But the cards is a way of identifying our members. But the final decision will rest with the NEB based on the due diligence that they have done
carried out on a certain area.
And unfortunately, those who are insisting it is either this or that, if they are being objective and not subjective, they are proposing something which is in the best interest of the party, I have no problems, and we are listening. Our problem is that you also, let me just finish this, you also have certain people, certain political operatives who knew how to cheat in the past when there were no cards. And they got their nominations and became candidates because
but from the way you're talking, and you have agreed when I was raising issues about this card, that the people have raised these issues, it can also be infiltrated.
It can be infiltrated.
So I mean, you cannot say it's foolproof.
It cannot.
There will be problems still.
There will be problems, and I think.
But you still choose to use it.
Well, it is. You know, the thing is that it's the lesser of the evils, because if you don't use them, other systems can also be infiltrated, For example, let me just give you an example. In Nairobi's Dagoretti North, if we decide to dispense with the cards, how do we protect ourselves from members of other parties coming to vote in our system?
The same way people would say, if you have the cards, and for example, I'm not in Jubilee and I'm vying here, and I want a specific candidate to be elected, aspirant for Jubilee, so that I can beat him or her, then I'll sponsor so many people to buy the cards. I can still infiltrate the process. People may not necessarily be Jubilee supporters, could be anybody, so that I get the best candidates for me to beat.
If you are bent on rigging, if you really want to rig,
you will rig.
We'll rig. That's fact.
In this process?
Not in the
Jubilee nomination
process. Not in this process, in electoral process.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. We'll listen to a clip here by David Murade yesterday. And this is something that some Jubilee aspirants have been talking about, including Senator Sonko, casting doubt on the system and saying it's already predetermined. I want your response to this, if you can listen to him.
Huyu jamaa, ile kitu mimi nakumbuka sana ni akiangusha barabara, akipiga ukuta na nini. Alafu sasa jana vile alikaa, hiyo sura siwezi kubali kama Trump anakuja kutembelea Kenya, ati huyo ndiye anaenda kulaki yeye kwa airport.
That's the vice chair of the Jubilee Party speaking. So should Sonko expect this to be fair to him, the nomination process? Well, after such pronouncements.
I'm not aware of the context in which he said it. I didn't watch the whole interview. But I did see some of the comments from Mr. Sonko, which were pretty intemperate, and I congratulate you for being able to manage that particular interview. I don't think you're facing similar challenges in this particular interaction.
No, clearly I'm not.
Yes. And so I think what you've seen there is a right of reply by
David
Murade. If somebody makes intemperate remarks about you, I think you should also accept intemperate remarks.
Right, but one is a politician, the other one sits in the Jubilee party structures, and here is a nomination process that is coming, and you're already talking about not expecting such a face to welcome Donald Trump, for example. He's already pronouncing himself.
I mean, he has got every right to express himself as an individual. But then when it comes to the nomination process, that is under the NEB. As long as any candidate who is a member of Jubilee qualifies to run for office, there's no way by which we can stop them from running for office. We may like them, we may not like them. We are all different individuals, but I cannot be in the business of deciding who runs based on my personal preferences. And I think the president, pronounced himself to that.
On matters of integrity.
Yes.
Even yesterday, speaking to the Weekend Nipashe team, the president said relevant institutions should handle matters of integrity. But is Jubilee as a party going to initiate a system where it's going to lock out people? We've seen you getting so many nomination papers from your aspirants. Are you going to lock out people who have integrity issues, or is it like the president said, or as the president said, that relevant institutions should handle it?
This is the law. This is the law, and Jubilee through TNA has got some experience in this. They had aspirant for governor who they cleared. Then the person went ahead to become the Jubilee candidate, but then he was failed by IEBC because of the issue of not having the right certificates to be a governor. So it is incumbent upon Jubilee to be able to guide their aspirants as to what are going to be the hurdles going forward. What is IEBC going to require? What is there going to be some requirement from EACC? And we are monitoring those very carefully so that we advise our aspirants as to, because if there's no point them being our aspirants and then they're going to be stopped somewhere along the way. I mean, in fact, just about 2 months ago, we had an aspirant who was qualified, and we actually were just about to give him his certificates. Then we discovered that he was not qualified because he was not registered as a voter in the year 2012, 2013. So automatically they were going to be disqualified. So some due diligence has to be done by us. But we cannot act arbitrarily for example, to say that, oh, you have a case in court, so therefore we cannot clear you, because that can be challenged in court.
Okay, this is a question I would like to ask. Is it important for a political party to do that? I mean, Jubilee is a political party, wants to continue steering the country, the Jubilee Party, talks about corruption, talks about other issues, hate speech and all that, and how it wants to make everybody adhere to the rule of law. We have had Jubilee leaders criticize the same institutions that you're now saying should be the ones to clear people. If you really care about corruption and all these things, can Jubilee decide on itself to raise the bar a little higher?
Let me put it this way. First of all, let's appreciate we're a country in transition in many respects. In fact, in many respects, even Kenya itself is a project. And that's one of the reasons why, as a party, one of our main missions is to bring this country together, to try and make Kenyans have a sense and a feeling of belonging. In the case of integrity issues, I think it is important that those institutions that are charged with that responsibility, like the EACC, like, you know, whether it is CID and IEBC, you know, even the judiciary, we have to give them space to do their work. Because if you do anything that can be challenged by the courts, all right, then it will not be helping the Jubilee cause. That's for a start. So we have also to respect and support our institutions. Okay. For example, as a communication person, you could probably be a member of the Kenya Union of Journalists or Kenya, you know, Society of Professionals in the media industry, and you know, for example, the Law Society of Kenya. Those are all regulatory institutions. So, for example, before you accept a lawyer to do certain things for you, it would be within your right to check the standing of that lawyer
and what it says.
Yeah, with the LSK.
Right.
Yeah. Now, that is within your right to do that. But at the end of the day, you know, it is your decision. But at the same time, you have to realize that, you know, in our society, we have even civil society sometimes who do some of these roles. So even as a party, we can do the due diligence, but at the end of the day, it is the responsibility of all of us as Kenyans and the institutions that we have established to do this. Okay,
Raphael Tuju, I wish we could continue this conversation, but I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon enough again when this nomination process begins. But thank you so much.
Well, can you allow me to say one more thing?
Yeah.
At least you called me here. I should say something about our party.
Sure. Right. Okay. Very briefly, though.
Yeah, very briefly. I mean, very briefly, I think Kenyans should understand what it is we're trying to do as far as the party is concerned. The first thing is that we're trying to forge a nationhood out of our many ethnic communities. And I think, you know, talking from a personal standpoint, it is very, very bold of the president to take somebody like myself, coming 4 kilometers from Raila Odinga's home, we're basically in the same village, and entrust me with the responsibility of championing his re-election. He is genuinely interested in seeing Kenyans come together. And in Africa, the African countries fail, maybe because of infrastructure problems, maybe because of corruption, but the thing which make African states collapse is ethnic strife. So as a country, as a people, let us watch out so that we don't kill each other or destroy our country because of this ethnic politics. Right. Raphael Tuju, Secretary General, Jubilee Party, thank you so much for making time for us tonight. Keep talking to us. The hashtag is the big question. You can also text us on the SMS number 22422. We're back after this break.